Okay. So, just as I said before, really appreciate everyone giving up an hour of your time on a short week or on a Monday afternoon. Um, we're really excited to be delivering this workshop for you today. GEO or any other acronym that you want to call it. There's so many out there, but it's a kind of new discipline, or it's been a new discipline over the last 12 months or so. And this workshop's really going to help you and give you the insights and the information to really help you succeed in your day-to-day life. What we want this workshop to be is obviously, I'm happy to speak for an hour, but it would be great if you've got any questions to just stop me at any point, ask questions as I'm going along. We want this to be kind of like a workshop type session where you're asking questions if you don't understand anything. And we will be doing some kind of demos of our own proprietary tools as well. So I may call on you to just give me some assistance when we get to those parts. But to why we're here, well, essentially, and I think everyone on this call knows this, which is why you're here. AI is completely transformative. So in the same sense that computers reshaped everything once upon a time. So I think in my career, at least, this is probably the most transformative technology innovation um, that's come along. It's completely reshaped everything. And what that's meant is that it's drastically changed the media landscape and the customer journey of our audience. So for us as communicators, AI overviews and AI answer engines are really becoming that new front page for brands. And our brand reputation and what we're helping clients with is really like hinging on whether our clients and your brands are in that answer or whether you're not in that answer. And what we're seeing in all of the studies that you have been conducted over the past 18, 24 months is showing that earned media really plays a critical role in succeeding in this new landscape. Why this is, well, we're getting information from completely different places than we were before. So we're at AI answer engines. I'm sure all of you have got your favorites, but here's an example of just two of them: Gemini and ChatGPT. Gemini obviously released their Gemini 3 model last week, which has had really good reviews so far. So check it out if you haven't done already. But we're starting to do searches within these environments, which are answer engines, but also our traditional search engines have changed as well. So previously, on a Google search, we'd do a keyword search and then we'd get hit with a list of links to choose from. That isn't happening now. So AI overviews have completely changed the way that our traditional search browsers appear to us. And it's giving us answers and almost kind of which is meaning that click-through rates to websites are massively down. So you may have seen that on your own site, and you may have seen all of the zero-click kind of marketing and zero-click search. That's causing a huge impact. So people are trusting the information that they're getting out of these answer engines and these search environments, and they're not needing to click through to get information anywhere else, which means, as I mentioned before, it's really critical as brands to be in this list of answers and to be one of those kind of first answers when AI provides the user with a an answer to their question, because this is where reputation is going to start to live in the future. And this growth isn't slowing down. So these stats taken fairly recently, but as I said in the intro, you could probably update these on a daily basis, if not a weekly basis. So 800 million weekly active users in ChatGPT. Add all of the AI answer engines together, and you're looking at a pretty huge amount. And Google AI overviews at the last count, when they last released the data, said that 2 billion plus users per month were being exposed and using Google AI overviews now. So it's a huge amount, and that's leading to a change in buying behavior across our audience. So um, from a consumer side, Gen Z and millennials are now turning to AI tools instead of traditional search. And from the B2B side, what's really interesting about these stats is that we always um, kind of link Gen AI to upfront research. But what these stats are showing, these are taken from a Forrester report earlier this year, are showing the impact of Gen AI across the whole buying process. So you're getting a vast majority, almost everyone, anticipating Gen AI are going to be supporting decision and purchase processes in the next 12 months. So again, if I go back to what I said a minute ago about needing to be in those first answers, well, these stats show that what Gen AI is doing is almost creating an anchor bias when people are using this. And if you're not in that list of answers, you're not going to be in those kind of 2 to 3 brands that people are going to go to when they're making a purchase decision. But the reality is, and I think this is why uh, we've been running these workshops today and for our clients, is that most PR professionals are still using the same playbook as they always have done. And the reason for that is because I think there's a lot of confusion because of the amount of information out there. You go on LinkedIn, and I don't know about your feeds, but my feeds are just full of different information on AI search or how people are using AI. And that's leading to kind of like a whole list of questions. So what needs to change? Like where do I even start with this? What's hype versus priority? We know the hype cycle with AI is real. I'm sure you may have seen all of the stories last week about the AI bubble bursting, which I don't think is completely true, but it just shows that the swirl of information out there can be really confusing. Whilst, and I'm sure you guys on this call can all attest to, the pressure's on from your business to deliver impact both in your normal roles, but now to show how you're using AI within those roles. Because I mean, within our consultancy, um, we put a lot of emphasis on using AI for our clients because it's innovative, it helps us deliver better results, and I'm sure it's the same for you. So with that, you really need a GEO playbook, and hopefully that what this workshop's going to do today is give you this information, which is going to help reduce some of that confusion. And you may still be wondering, all of those stats are great, um, but I'm still not sure about GEO as being super important. Essentially, if your audience uses AI, even if it's like one target audience, you need a GEO strategy because as our jobs as communicators, I think our goal is to reach our audience effectively with our messaging and portray our brands to our audiences where they get their information. And as we showed on the previous slide, a lot of our audiences are now going to AI to get their information. So GEO and an AI search is its own channel. So we need to have a strategy for that. So hopefully that may explain why you need a GEO strategy, and I'm going to show you how to do one. So this is the kind of model and the framework that we put in place when we talk to our clients, and we help distill it down into a more kind of step-by-step framework. So the first part of that is kind of a technical part, which I'm sure everyone on this call probably might have winced when I said technical, because sometimes that can be super confusing. But hopefully, I'll show you that it's with different tools and just an easy way to look at things. It's not as confusing and as daunting as it seems, but really what we want to do in this step is to essentially allow the right AI crawlers onto our site so that they can index your information and feed their AI models with your information so that people can find it. The second part of the framework is kind of that discovery part. So, like with any good measurement strategy, you really want to audit and benchmark where you are today. So, that discovery part is about auditing your AI footprint today. And that could be using a tool. I'm sure people on this call are all using or have seen different AI visibility solutions. Obviously, we at Hotwire have our own Hotwire Spark, and we would love it if you used ours, but we are very aware that people are using others as well. So within any of these AI visibility tools, you can quickly audit your AI footprint and how you show up to audiences today. If you don't have access to one of those tools, you can still do it by um, putting in a few prompts into those AI answer engines and getting a benchmark, understanding whether the AI is um, showing, kind of portraying your brand correctly with the right messaging based on your brand message, and also you can start to understand the sources that it's citing. But we'll go into that in more detail. Um, the third part is about content optimization. So making sure that your content is optimized for AI. And this is critical if we think about how you're going to increase your brand visibility within AI answer engines. You're going to want to write and structure your content for AI discoverability. That doesn't mean you're writing specifically for AI, but it means that you're writing and you're structuring your content to give yourself the best shot of it being picked up by these like AI answer engines so that you can be in those kind of critical answers that your audience is seeing. And then finally, uh, it's the kind of authority optimization. So this is about building trust and writing for substance, as it says on the slide, and securing those mentions and citations in those trusted third-party publications. So this kind of plays and ties in hand with that second part, understanding where the trusted third-party publications are, who they are, and then trying to optimize your media strategies for that. So this is our kind of four-step framework. Um, and I'm going to go into each one in detail. But as I mentioned at the start, please chime in with any questions if anything's confusing or if you want me to elaborate on anything further. Happy to do so. But I'm going to dive in after a sip of water. So the technical optimization part is really about letting the right crawlers onto your website. So there are two kind of technical parts of AI bot crawlability, which in itself that sounds scary, AI bot crawlability, but it's not. Let me show you what it means. Essentially, there is kind of like the firewall part to this, which I think we'll start there. So the firewall really, and I'm sure many of you may have seen this probably a few months ago, and maybe a lot of your uh, sites are hosted on Cloudflare. Um, Cloudflare automatically by default blocks AI crawlers. So um, with that means essentially that the AI crawlers can't access your site, and you won't not nothing from your site will be being pulled in to any AI answer engines. So um, we can with the use of Radiate, which I'll show you in a second, we can understand whether that's happening or not, but it's a really easy fix. So a lot of people keep the default setting on Cloudflare turned on, which by default, as I said, all of these are blocked. It's a really easy thing to uncheck that box and let the AI crawlers in. You'll see from this list I'll just go through a couple of them. There are three OpenAI bots here. So these top three bots that you can see here are all for OpenAI. So OAI search bot is kind of that search bot that crawler that it uses to index sites. So it'll go on and index your site, your competitor's site, and it will index the information, but it's not there to train its model. The ChatGPT user crawler is kind of like that on-demand bot. So when a user's performing a search within an AI answer engine, that's the bot that the AI, OpenAI, will use to go and get that information in real time and come back. The final one is that GPT bot. So this is where it's the kind of the model training bot. So OpenAI there are using three different bots. You can see that Google have got two bots, Claude have got two bots. Claude bot is that training model bot. Claude Web is that kind of search real time crawler. So all of these are performing different things, and you want your site to be accessible to them so that they can get your information. If you don't want your site to be kind of used for its training data, you don't have to give access to all of these. You could just give access to just the ChatGPT user bot, which still allows the crawler to go and get the information when a user's searching. But you might not want your information used for the training data, so you would just not want to give access to the GPT bot. When I say you, by the way, I mean your business, your webmasters. I'm not putting any of the onus on anyone on this call. But so that's a way to look at the firewall, and this is through our Radiate solution, which I'll show you in a second. Another way to find this information, just to see whether you are allowing any of these bots is, or these crawlers, is your robots.txt file, and anyone on this call can access this. So I don't know if anyone wants to call out their website. Alyssa, you've popped up on my screen, so ecoonline.
Oh no, please don't, because
No.
Gemma already did it and we're awful. Yeah, well, I have to say thank you to Gemma on our Hotwire team, because she flagged that we blocked all of them. So I went to my web team and have shared all the images that she had said. So
Oh, perfect.
they are now, the web team is now looking into it. So appreciated the flag.
A perfect use case. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else has an example. If not, I can just let's. Oh, one in the chat.
We got an example. Commerce.com from Brad. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. So this is how easy it is to access your robots.txt file. So you just type in the domain, and then you do /robots.txt. And basically, Brad, it doesn't look like your site is allowing any bots or crawlers, and that's probably maybe because of like a Cloudflare thing. What it should look like is something like that. So where you've got kind of allow OpenAI's GPT bot, user agent GPT bot, allow, so on and so forth. So that's kind of like a good example of how it should look. And I'm just going to flip back to our solution, Radiate. So this is a brand new, I'm not going to do a hard sell, by the way. So if you're all cringing right now, I'm just going to show you how easy it is with kind of like one of our tools that we've created. So we can go here and let's just use Hotwire and give Sylvia a bit of kudos. So we can essentially come in here and analyze our site, and as I said, come in here and just look at whether the firewall is blocking anything, and right now, and also if the robots.txt file is not optimized, our tool can write one for you, and you just copy and paste this and give it Alyssa, so that you could give this to your web team, and they can just use that, and they can go and update it from there. So what we did on the previous workshop is we ran an example of another company, and this is what it looks like when everything's blocked. So you can see that everything is blocked by default, and these CF Cloudflare suggests that Cloudflare default option is switched on. So everything's being blocked on this site that we analyzed. And you can see there are different codes here. 200 is kind of like a delay code. Again, not to get too technical, but this essentially means that when the AI crawler tries to access your site, it almost times out because it can't access it, and it delays. 403 is kind of the one that you want to, or like anything in the 400s means that it's forbidden to even access through. And then Cloudflare, this 500 is more where Cloudflare is just stopping that and stopping any kind of access, and the server is just refusing access to the bot. So there are different codes there, and then the robots.txt file, we would run this and give that to them. So that's one way to quickly diagnose whether it's being blocked or not. And this would be your first step to opening up to the AI crawlers to allow them to index and access your site. We kind of jumped on here to this one, but this is where we did the test, and this is how it should look. And if anyone wants to follow up and ask us to do their site, we would be happy just to put your site in, take the screenshot in the follow-ups. Gabrielle can do that and share that with you as a follow-up. Feel free to kind of like reach out to us and share your domains, and we can do that for you. So the second part, once you've understood whether your site is open for crawling or not, is you want to audit your brand presence. So just to start this section off as a kind of a quick step back as to the difference between AI search and traditional search, because I think it's important. And this is almost a reminder for everyone that if you're working with an AI visibility solution already, and it only works on just inputting a keyword, that's a bit of a red flag, because AI search doesn't only work on keywords. It works on who you are and the context of the prompt or the question. So all of us in this room, if we've ever used an AI answer engine before, build up a history within our AI answer engines, and that history the AI learns from, and then it responds back to us based on who we are, the persona that it gives us, and our history. So what I receive is going to be different to what Sylvia receives, is going to be different to what Aubrey sees. And this matters because AI search, therefore, is completely different to traditional search, which just works on those keywords and keyword matching. So what we want to do is be really mindful of that. And with our Hotwire Spark tool, we've built the tool with that foundation in place. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like in a second. But how you would be able to do this if you didn't have a tool like ours and you just wanted to go off and look for your brand visibility within these AI answer engines, you could write some prompts to get started into your ChatGPT or Gemini or wherever it is. and say, you are a CIO, you are looking for information about data centers. I'm just going to choose a random thing with the context of sustainability or something like that. And that gives the answer engine a persona, so the CIO. You outline the topic or the keyword that you are interested in, and then you give it a context. Obviously, replace data centers with your own brand if you're wanting to understand your brand reputation. Um, and also alongside that, you could say, give me 50 of the most common prompts a CIO would make around this. And then you can use those prompts to understand whether your brand is showing up in those answers, how it's showing up in those answers, and then you can get a benchmark from there. So that's that step one. So you want to understand how AI models interpret and represent your brand. Step two, which is really critical for probably everyone on this call, is how can we start using this information to influence and optimize our media strategies? So, as I mentioned at the top, earned media has a big influence within these answers, and we want to understand, are some media outlets influencing more than others? And that's critical for this. And then what you want to do is identify the topics that AI most associates with your brand, by audience and by LLM. And that's interesting and important to know. All LLMs aren't going to be pulling from the same sources. Some are going to prefer some sources than others, which I'll take you through in a second. So let me share my screen and dive into this real quickly. This is just a quick example of our Hotwire Spark tool and how we do it, and hopefully it won't take too long. So you can see here, we've got the who's asking. So our tool works on an agentic AI model. So each agent is given one of these personas. These are the personas of this example. So this is who's going to be asking the questions in AI. What they're going to be asking about are these different topics and keywords here. So that's the what, and the why is going to be this different context. So this fleet manager is going to be asking questions about video telematics and wanting to know more about AI powered video telematics. And what that can give us is an understanding of where this information is coming from. Most of the information here, interestingly, is coming from owned sites. So again, really critical to get your website open to those AI crawlers. Otherwise, you're not going to be showing up amongst your competitors. But you do see some kind of third-party sites or media opportunities. So YouTube shows up quite high, and that is a common theme when we're looking at Gemini. So Gemini loves YouTube. So if you don't do any video right now, and you want to get into Gemini and you want to show up across the Google search environments, you need to optimize for YouTube. The other thing that we can do in more detail is within this tool, we just give you a list of where these are coming from. So these are the top most cited media publications here. So you can start to say, oh, have we already tried to pitch any of these in the past? Do we know these sites? If not, they may be niche sites. And that's another interesting thing about AI search. They don't pull from always the sites that you would necessarily expect on your tier one media sites. They're pulling from more niche sites. So therefore, when you come to optimize your media list for AI, you want to have your traditional tier one media list, of course, but you want probably to have a tier one AI media list as well to supplement that. So I'm going to just keep going. And please, if anyone's got questions, please jump in at any point. So what we can start to do is start to analyze these results. And obviously, with the use of a tool, it's a lot easier. But you can still pull this together yourself if you had time manually just to get a benchmark. But these are kind of the way in which we analyze across three different topics. So we're looking at kind of who's showing up most often in this, and also to identify kind of where you sit in that competitor landscape. But also we're starting to analyze, what's really having an influence over these results. And what we saw for this client example is that this competitor was showing up quite prominently, and it wasn't one that they'd indicated to us. And the reason for that is that one of their blog posts was driving a huge amount of citations. So we can start to feed that information back, start to understand why that is. Is it the way that it's written? I mean, there's a whole host of reasons which I'm going to go into in the next section, but we can start to distill it down into what's feeding it, and then give recommendations about the type of content that's really having a large effect on these results. And then, as I mentioned, YouTube was one coming through as a leading media source. So especially across kind of Google search environments. So you really want to start utilizing video content. And what's important with video content, and probably any gated content, is you want to make your meta description for those pieces of content really rich, so the AI understands what it is, can link it back to the intent behind the prompts, and so on and so forth. And what we do with that information is start to say, okay, we understand what types of content might be being pulled through. What are the different topics and what are the different content themes that we can start to write about? So start to think about the different and start to categorize these different content themes and say, okay, vehicle tracking and live location visibility in this example, what are the sub kind of content themes that we really want to start writing about to increase our visibility within these spaces, and getting to those first answers, as I mentioned before, that are now really critical to linking your brand to the solutions and the questions and the problems that the audience are having. So this is a kind of like a way in which we work with our clients to start to benchmark and start to provide recommendations off the back of this. But as I mentioned, you can do this in any tool that you might have access to, but you can do it just manually and start to map. Obviously, it's a bit more labor intensive and a bit more time intensive, but you can map where you sit today and just give yourself that benchmark to measure from. The third part is all about content optimization and structuring, getting the right structure for GEO. And ultimately, with GEO, it's kind of the process of good writing practices and some of those SEO practices that we've had and that we've tried to follow for years. So know your AI citability score. So that's a nod to our kind of Radiate tool, which gives you a citability score when you optimize, but it's trying to know and understand how optimal a piece of content is for AI and what are the chances of it being picked up or not by these crawlers when you produce a piece of content. Applying those EEAT principles, which has always been the foundation of SEO, and then building topical authority through pillars and cluster pages. And I'll go into all of these in more detail throughout the next few pages. So don't worry if you've got questions on any of this right now. So the first step in any of this is to make your content easy for LLMs to quote and trust. And what we we call this kind of like the inverted pyramid writing. So that answer first writing. So you want to start every section with a 2 to 4 sentence direct answer. So you want to provide an answer at the start of each paragraph or each section so that AI can easily get that information out of it and link it to the prompt or the user intent. You want to put the most quotable claim or stat in the first paragraph, again, making it easy for AI to lift from. Make every paragraph one idea. And what we mean by that is don't make it confusing, either for the user or for the AI to understand. I'm just going to open up the chat, I think. Oh, Gabrielle, thank you. If you've got any questions, just raise your hand in the and I can answer it. And then you want to end each section with a 1 to 2 sentence TLDR. Again, this is all just good writing process, and you just trying not to fit too much into any section. And essentially, what we're saying here is still write for humans. Our kind of process throughout all of this is write for humans and optimize for bots. So you want to make it easy to read, but we want to structure it in a way that it's going to be optimized for those AI bots. The interesting thing here, and we put this kind of shit check on each one of these slides just to boil it down quickly, is you want to keep the paragraphs and the sections quite short. Like, as you see here, no paragraph should really be over 90 words. You want to make these sections and these sections really easy for the AI to read and to skim. Ideally, each paragraph or section should be about 30 to 40 words. So just something to bear in mind, because I think it's just a slightly different mindset than a long form piece of content, long form blog piece of content that we're used to. We want to use natural language H2s and H3s that mirror prompts. So this is maybe a slight change from what we've thought about before. And what this means is that each one of your headers wants to kind of directly mirror the prompt. So what is so and so forth, or how to do this, or why does, etc. So you want to, and then you want to immediately answer that heading in those next 2 to 4 sentences. So this is where you can start to kind of like link your content easily for the AI to pull from. And then I'm sure if you've been following GEO and AI kind of visibility, FAQs, you would have seen FAQs pop up in everything. FAQs are kind of like the best friend of AI crawlers. So you want to add an FAQ block at the end to answer any kind of most asked questions. And again, this is all with the purpose of allowing your content to be easily scanned and picked up by the AI. So again, those ship checks, 3 to 8 natural language H2s per long page, has a direct answer right below it, and then there's 5 to 10 FAQs matching kind of those real searches or prompts. So just an easy way for you to start optimizing. Scannable structure. So again, another thing that you may have read when you've done your own research, is that listicles are, again, really critical and being really prioritized by these AI answer engines. So anything with kind of numbered steps, tables, comparisons really get picked up by these AI answer engines. So we see when we run our own prompts and you see, which content pulls through, it may be a competitor site, but it has one of those lists, or they've written a blog about the top 7 products for this, and obviously their brand is always contained within there. But there'll be other brands listed throughout. So these types of this type of content is really being picked up by these AI answer engines. You want to keep that clear hierarchy, and you want to bold any key takeaways or entities, so that those entities could be your brand, product, or concept names. So at least one list or table in each major section where it makes sense. Obviously, you're not just going to insert any of these into a piece of content where it doesn't make any sense and it looks out of place. But where it makes sense, you want to make use of this. You don't want any kind of huge walls of text, or you want kind of visible white space, like I said, between each sections. And you want to, again, just to reiterate, you want to map the headings cleanly and clearly to that content beneath. Quotable citation friendly lines. So this is all about kind of having facts or stats contained within a piece of content. And whenever kind of when we were pulling this slide together, what made me think of this is this kind of aligns really well to like a press release, and which is why press releases are getting picked up within AI answer engines. So these stats, you probably all commissioning your own research, and you've got kind of interesting stats that you've got pulled together. You want to include them in your content, and you want to add the definition around what that concept is. And what's really interesting when we did our research is the AI prefers when a number is kind of rounded. So again, where it makes sense, you're not going to say 44.6% of something if that, and then round that to 40%, because that would be a complete misrepresentation. But where it makes sense and truthful to round up to a whole number, do so, because the AI kind of prefers that when it's quoting and when it's crawling your citations and your content. So you want kind of around about 3 stats per page with the sources. The stats recency work is key for AI as well. So you don't want to write a blog post or write a piece of content and use stats from 2020 or something like that. Sounds weird saying that isn't recent, 2020. When I said that, I was just thought, wow. And you want to, one sentence, pull quotes exist per major section. Again, this is all linking your brand and your content to being a trusted source, and anchoring you as kind of that authority, and going from there. Aubrey, go for it.
Hey, Matt, it's Aubrey and Mark from Vivint here. Sorry, question for you. So kind of thinking about the last 2 bits of content you shared, has there been any testing or talk about like shifting structure of press releases? I mean, I know it already does lay out like this a little bit, but if quotes higher up, more impactful things higher up, I mean, today a traditional press release is, paragraph, detail, quote, information. Has there been any thought about like looking at that through this lens? And if so, do you have any insights to share there?
Yeah, we have done some tests, and it's funny because when I've gone to a few conferences recently, people have spoken about releasing press releases, some press releases on the wire that are only for AI bots to read. So they'll put a optimized press release out on the wire, and it's more for AI to pick it up. And then you have kind of like your traditional press release sat on your site or wherever, or vice versa, so that the AI picks it up more importantly. What you don't want to do is lose your tone of voice, obviously. And that's critical. So I think it's playing around with it and maybe like elevating one piece up to the top where it makes sense to do so, obviously. So, but with Radiate, we can help you do that easily. and just put in the piece of content, and it will restructure that content but not lose any of the tone of your voice, essentially.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. If anyone's got any other questions, let me know. And that was a perfect segue to a little bit of a test, but this is more on a blog post. So if I move the Zoom thing always gets in the way when you try and do this. Okay. So back to Radiate. So this is an example of how we can start to analyze content on here. So this that isn't it. This is it. So this is the blog post that we were looking at. I probably should have chosen a different one because our SVP of Jess had actually written a really good blog post structured really well for GEO, but this is the blog post that we analyzed, and what we can do with Radiate is just upload that piece of content, and what Radiate will do is come in here and restructure it slightly. So you can see that the first paragraph or the first section, sorry, has been slightly restructured, making it the sentences and the shortens this and bolds things as I mentioned before, and we just go down, and what the difference here is, obviously you can see the FAQ section has been added in. What Radiate does is, as I mentioned, we could give like an AI citability score, and this essentially allows us to understand, okay, how optimal is this piece of content for AI? And with the changes, what we can see is it gives us potential prompts that our audience might be asking around this topic. So it's optimized it with that in mind. Then it goes through these kind of 5 different steps or criteria that it's analyzing and adding notes. And what Radiate isn't doing is changing your tone of voice. It's not doing that. It's restructuring the information for the purpose. And 86 out of 100. So normally when anything's out of 100, especially, I'm fairly competitive. So 86 to me is like, damn, I could do better. Right now, for what we want is anything 86 is probably the highest you want to go in this score, because anything 90 and above essentially means that you're just writing for robots and you're not writing for humans. And none of us want to just write for robots. We, as I mentioned before, write for humans, optimize for bots. So although robots are a new target audience for us all, and when we think about our target persona in any go-to-market plan, weirdly, robots should now be on your list. But we shouldn't be seeing a score of 90 and above here, because that means that we've over-optimized. And when a user actually lands or maybe reads that, and obviously we know that people aren't clicking through as much, but people might still want to read what you've got to say. It's not going to be written for humans, and it's not going to be kind of optimized for humans, more optimized for bots. So 86 out of 100 when we do these citability score is what you want to see. Anything probably about 75 and above is great here. So and it gives rationale. So this is a really easy way for you to come in here. Obviously not everyone's going to have access to these tools, but if you want us to give a quick demo afterwards about how this works, feel free to reach out and we would be happy just to give you a quick demo. But the way this is working is it's just restructuring the content to make it more citable and more discoverable by AI. So it's not changing your tone of voice. which is again critical for press releases and other pieces of content, because we're not looking to do that. So next part is EEAT. So you may all know what this is, but it's experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And this has been the bedrock of any SEO for a long time. I just realized what the time is, so I'm going to go through. And you want to ensure that this is part of your content, and you want to make sure that you write for this. So this is good SEO practice, and it works for GEO as well. Make sure your brand is mentioned clearly, and use attribution prompts in the copy, and invest in earned mentions, obviously, as we all want to do, to seed entity co-occurrence. So reputable forums, podcasts with transcripts, so on and so forth. And then finally, topical authority via clusters. So what this means is build a content pillar and build clusters around it that you can link to within your content. So then it builds your authority around that content theme, around that pillar, and it links internally to other pieces of content that you've got, so that you can start to build up your authority. And what's really interesting here is maybe something different to think about is cover different user levels within your content, so that again, if I think back to the way that AI search works, some people the AI search is going to see as a beginner. Some people AI search is going to see as an expert in the content, and it's going to feed them information based on what level it thinks that they are. So you want to create content based around that. The final part is showing up in the places that AI's sourced. And apologies that I'm going to run through this quickly. If you can stay for 5 more minutes, we would love that. If not, I will try my best to run through this as quickly as possible. I got too into the exciting part of GEO and got too long on that. So 60% of the earned media citations drive 60% of citations, within answer engines are driven by earned media. This is just a stat that we've pulled. You will see on your LinkedIn so many different stats. Some people say up to 90%, some people say 40%. Whatever it is, it's a huge amount. And this is a time for us as PR professionals to really take this opportunity that AI search has given us and kind of really grasp it. What we can start to do with that is understand where the AI is sourcing the information, as I showed you on Spark. You can see the list of most cited media sources and start to work with that within your media plans and start to create a kind of tier 1 AI citation list alongside your other media list. So again, remember that different AIs prefer different sources. So you want to optimize for all, not just one. But you want to maintain a consistent message on key topics across all PESO channels. So you want to create that surround sound effect, because AI just pulls from everywhere. So messaging needs to be consistent, or you're going to show up to your audience in an inconsistent way, and your message is going to be delivered really poorly and misrepresent your brand to those audiences. Knowing that people aren't clicking to other places to get that information is critical to get this right. Quick example of the differences that we ran in this example. YouTube showing up really clearly in Google, but you can see that Fleet News, this site that I'm not familiar with, but obviously not in this space, was showing up really clearly across all. So if we're thinking about a media list, you'd want to make sure that media publication was on your list and ready to go. Reddit showing up here. You may have seen kind of those posts with Reddit at the top of AI citations. Just be mindful and critical when you see those, because no one has a database of every AI citation. There is no central database for AI right now. Unlike kind of like a Google Search Console, none of the AI answer engines are releasing their data. So just be mindful and just look at things in the context of how you're looking at the information, not as in totality across AI. This is just an example of how we pull the information together about like different content influencing different AI. So we found that kind of support pages had a massive influence in ChatGPT in this example, which is interesting. So make sure your knowledge base and help pages are optimized. Whereas AI overviews was more about blog posts and ebooks and white papers. So again, this just emphasizes the difference across the three. So you want to just think a couple of things to bear in mind. Still continue to pitch as if you're a human. You don't want to go all in on AI and use AI to write your media pitches, because journalists will know that when you've done that. So use your expertise to pitch. So use AI in the right way, not to replace what you do. You want to optimize the wire. We see the wire having a big influence in AI. So I would have said 24 months ago that the wire is dead. The wire is alive and well in AI search. So make use of the wire to distribute your press releases. And then you want to start measuring or reporting, obviously a topic near and dear to my heart, but you want to start benchmarking how you show up, how your optimizations are improving your citability. And this is a really great way. Again, I'm just going to go to the summary because just to this point, it should be used alongside other metrics in a measurement program. So you can use this alongside other metrics to demonstrate the impact of your comms programs. But something that I want you all to be mindful of, and it's probably the best way to end, is all of this data right now should be used as a guide and shouldn't be used as just like like the silver bullet to your comms measurement strategies. You should, like I said, no AI answer engine is releasing data right now. So all of the information that you look at is looking at it through that lens and within that context. It's not like the whole of AI isn't pulling from Reddit, for instance. You may have seen those LinkedIn posts where AI gets its facts from Reddit's on top. Yeah, it may have done for those 100,000 prompts or whatever that was, that experiment was, or that was. It's not the same for everything. So you've got to look at it in context and make sure you're being transparent about what you're looking at, and be skeptical if someone overpromises. If you're speaking to a vendor and overpromising something, just be skeptical. So 5 key takeaways. Robots are now one of your audiences, which is weird, but it's true. So optimize for them. Know how your brand is showing up in AI search. Keep your message and story consistent. Again, something that we've always practiced and preached, but make sure that it is, because AI pulls from everywhere. And know that each LLM is slightly different. So you want to optimize for each individual and use AI to help. Don't wait and worry about being perfect. Get in there, start using AI and experiment. And if it doesn't work once, doesn't mean you stop. Just keep trying different things and it will help with your comms programs. And with that, the final thing is, as I showed, we've got 2 solutions to help with all of this: Hotwire Spark and Hotwire Radiate. If you would like a demo of them, if you want to learn more, just reach out to us, reach out to Gabrielle, and we would be happy to set up any demos. We obviously think they're great, but yeah, we'd love to show them you if you wanted the opportunity. But really, this workshop wasn't for that. This workshop was just to help you integrate AI into your day-to-day work and to help you feel more comfortable within this new landscape. So hopefully it did that. And I'm now going to have a sip of water because I've been talking for a long time. But thank you for those people who did stay, because I did overrun. So appreciate everyone who stayed.